And now, here's your host, Alessandra Torresani.
This is going to be the best podcast because it's so honest and real, and we have babies outside being walked right now. We have babies inside the house screaming. We have computers not working, and of course,
it's a good thing we are good moms and our kids are eating and living and breathing. Because if I had to do it a day-to-day with a computer technology, I'd fail hard. Hard.
Yeah. That's not my forte.
I would honestly think clicking a link and signing onto a podcast would be much easier.
Especially because you've had a podcast.
But no, not for me.
Funny you should ask. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Well, for everyone who's listening, welcome to Emotional Support. We're here with a fan favorite, Jessica Szohr, a dear friend, and this is going to be tons of fun. And it's just going to be a quick, silly episode where, Jess had written me and was like, I want to have a conversation about all of the things that happen to us moms that are overwhelming, that are exhausting, that we don't talk about, that no one talks about. And I thought this is a great kind of little fun thing that we can just share, just some things. And what's exciting is you have two gorgeous girls, and I'm not going to know the ages correctly because I know that Bowie's a little bit older than Lady, but I think a lot older actually, right? 2 years older?
She'll be 3 in January.
Okay, so she's like a year and a half older.
Yeah,
right.
Year and a half, yeah. But it also it goes so fast.
So fast.
So to me, even though I know Lady wasn't just born a couple months ago, I still feel like pregnant when I found out you were pregnant. That feels like yesterday. Yeah, and I know we totally all know this as moms, people say this all the time. I'm like, let me guess, it goes so fast. The days are long, but the years are short. By the way, that quote couldn't be more on the nose.
Oh my gosh, it's so on the nose. Did it ever frustrate you when people would say it to you though, when Bowie was very little? Because for me, I would be like, people would be like, oh my gosh, enjoy every moment, savor it.
Enjoy it.
And I'm like, fuck you. I'm just trying to have fun with my baby.
I know. You're like, it's just one of those things, or when people right away when she was 6 months, okay, you having more? I'm like, can I enjoy the 6 months and get my body back and
can my vagina get smaller again, please, before we have this conversation?
Yeah. But I think people
they mean well.
They mean well, but But here's what's really crazy to me. And again, to start off, I'm very blessed. I have two beautiful, healthy girls.
Yes.
I wouldn't change anything in the world. I had a great pregnancy. Bowie latched. We went through this the last time. And I don't mean to be bragging about it, but in a way I do, because I had it very good. She's a great sleeper. She eats well. So I am very blessed. But I think for some reason, because it was a surprise pregnancy, we weren't trying. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, but I knew I wanted to do that with Brad.
Yeah.
I wasn't, as much as I was reading up on things, I was just kind of going with it.
Right.
Oh, I should try that. Or someone would send me a link to something. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea to try sleeping with the pillow this way or that way, whatever, many different things. But because I wasn't trying for months or years, I wasn't reading all these things or stressed about stuff.
You weren't overly prepared.
Yes, I was not at all.
Yeah.
So I think in a way that kind of benefited, kind of helped my situation, because then everything that was happening, I'm like, okay, wow. Because every couple weeks, especially when the babies, it's something new. All of a sudden you think when they're sleeping through the night and then you're changing from, breastfeeding to bottles or getting off the bottles, then it's oh, they're teething. So I'm literally every time you learn something, it's another challenge and you're like, what? And all you're doing is you don't know if you're doing it right or wrong. And it doesn't matter what you read.
No.
I mean, tell me how you feel.
No, it doesn't matter what you read. Something that actually happened to me literally minutes before we did this podcast was, we're rearranging the garage and stuff, and Lady had picked up this pipe thing. I mean, that sounds terrible. I don't mean a pipe. I mean an actual physical
either way. It
was a long stick thing that it holds up a sign. It's a banner sign thing, whatever. And she's going around and she's blowing it. And I was like, oh my gosh, let's put that down. And before I could even say let's put that down, she cut the inside of her mouth and she starts just like gushing
my
blood
God.
like The
Oh
Exorcist. And
my
I'm like,
God.
oh my God, like it's over. This is it. Like, and meanwhile,
And you
she's not
have to
even
be as calm as you can be. You can't.
calm,
Yeah.
calm. And I was like, you know what? And it was so funny because literally at 5 a.m. I could not sleep. And I was watching this video and it was Mayim Bialik and she was talking about how, so it's like very bizarre how this all happened, but she was talking about how when we always say to babies or we always say to kids if they fall and they hurt themselves, you're okay, everything's okay. And
I
that's
heard it
so wrong. You're not
wrong.
supposed to
Yeah.
do that. You're supposed to say, I know that you're in pain. I know that you're hurting. I can
I'm
only
sorry
imagine what
you're
you're going through.
hurting.
I'm sorry, all this stuff, and mom is here to make it better, or let's see what we can do. You will be okay, but right now it's okay to feel your feelings.
Yeah.
But it was so bizarre because at 5 a.m. I watched this video
Right.
and then this like first time I
I have
ever saw, I know
goosebumps.
chills. I know it was the first time that I'd ever seen like blood come from my baby where I
Right.
was like, oh my God, oh my God. And I did the thing. I was like, I know that you're hurting. I know that you're in pain. I'm so sorry, honey. Like we're going to get through this together and you're going to be, wonderful. And we're just going to clean this up and like have a little chi-chi because a boob always makes you feel better. But it was that thing where it was the first time I remembered something that I learned like as a mom. I used that
Used it.
tool. That tool worked. But also being scared shitless inside, being like, my little baby has blood and it's
Yeah.
my fault because I allowed her to use this pole
Yeah.
pipe thing, you know
Cool.
what I mean? But it's overwhelming, right? But it was the first time that I actually was able to use that advice. And it,
Yeah.
and
I
it was
love that it
great.
happened like this morning, that it was like
Yeah.
fresh in your brain.
Yeah.
And my sister had told me that because both of my sisters had kids before I did,
Right.
both of my
Right.
younger sisters. So I was it was so funny. I'm like, I need advice, I need this. But that was a big thing. My sister Megan from right away was just like always when they're hurt. And sometimes it's just on the tip of your tongue. You want to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for some parents, it might be even to help yourself. Like you're okay
Sure.
because you're gonna have to be, because we're just gonna have to make this okay.
Right.
Sometimes I'll find Brad being like, if Bowie falls or something, and he's like, "You're okay." I'm like, it's not how we say it, Brad. You can't. She's not okay right now. Even
She's
if
not
we
okay.
know she's gonna be in her emotions and what she's trying to like, they don't know how to express anything else. That's like such a good topic to bring up because I don't think you wouldn't be really aware of it until someone kind of explained it to you. Like when my sister
No.
said it, I'm like, "What do you mean, girl?" And then when she was explaining, I'm like, "Oh." And then when you're in it with your child, you can feel that they know that something's wrong right now,
Yes.
but you hit it on the nose. And I think that's a really important for anyone that's expecting or has a little baby now. I think it's a big thing because especially as they get older, they're falling more when they're like running and playing and all the things, when they're not
Yeah.
crawling and walking, they're not hurting themselves.
They're moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I always laugh because I think that you and I are very similar in the way that we are with our kids and like how
Yeah.
we raise the babies of like letting them be who they are. We're very like loose. There's no like defined schedule. There's no they have to eat at this time, like on the minute. We kind of are like let them be like who they need to be and guide in that direction. And I guess a question that I have that's like just coming to me is like, where did you in quote unquote learn your parenting style? Like, was that how
I
you were raised?
um oh gosh. My mom was very much let us, we slept with her. We coped
Yeah.
my mom slept with us till I was probably like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
So there wasn't like a specific bedtime.
Right.
I wouldn't say she was overly strict. She was, and there was 5 of us, so we were always on the go. It's like what I was saying before. I think because everything was so new, I was just trying to learn it. And I think with you, and I watched this with you, like you bring lady everywhere you go. That was
Everywhere.
very much what I did. So
Yeah.
she wasn't foreign to things when we first, you know what I mean? First of all, I was 7 months pregnant when I moved and got all
Yeah.
new doctors. So
Yeah.
that was it was kind of our lifestyle. Like
Yeah.
you have a busy thing, but I also want my children's children to be involved in my lifestyle. I don't want to
Yeah.
be like, okay, I'm working of course we're going to have to work certain hours and have our time.
Sure.
But like I still want them very much involved. So if like I'm going to dinner with Brad, I want Bowie to come to dinner with us. You know what I mean? And
Honestly, like I'm the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just actually talking to our friends from New York who are expecting.
Yeah.
And I said to them, one thing I think you guys really should do, because they are out and about a lot with like travel and work and all the things, also live in New York City, which is just busy to begin with.
Yep.
I'm like, do that in the beginning right away. Because if it becomes normal, and I not mean just eating at restaurants, I'm saying go to the park with other kids, going to art shows. I'll take her to museums. Yes. Little classes that we do together. So she's not foreign. And I actually think it's helped her, like her personality with other people and how to treat other people, just because she's been around it. We're not just like,
well, and it's so funny because I will never forget, and I talk about this all the time with Jenna Goldsmith, like how I always say to her, like, I learned so much more than anyone. I feel like in our episode when I told you that I was pregnant, we were talking about like what it was like and everything. And I remember you saying like, I put Bowie on the plane, like at a very young age, like we were having to travel because, your partner literally was playing hockey all over the world. Yeah. And like, you had to go, and you were like, we have no choice. But like, I love that you didn't stay home. I love that you constantly put her on a plane. She went to different cities. She experienced different cultures. She got to see like different countries. Like that is so amazing. And that always, always, always stuck in my head, where I'd be like, I don't know if like it's too early. Like I remember Sturgis was like, oh, let's go to the Bahamas. We've wanted to go. And I'm like, I don't know. Is it too early? And then I'm like, no, you know what? Like Jess went, and like she would always go and take Bowie with her. I think it's so important at such a young age to constantly, if you can, like be flying, be traveling and doing it, because it's part of our lifestyle and that's going to have to happen. And so I need her to be flexible. I need Lady to learn to be like resilient and like,
if she's doing it with you the first time she's all doing it, then it becomes like it's a safe place for her to go to all these places and do. And here's the other thing. Even if you're not an actor working the way you and I will work as our mom, we're also blessed because we can book a show or book a movie and bring our children to work.
Yes.
Not everyone has that, which I didn't even realize that until having a baby. I'm like, wow, she can literally come to any job for the most part that will do, which is 99% of people can't say that. It's very well, and we're very blessed. But even if you don't have, if you're not an actor or an artist in the way that we are, even if you're living in a city and not getting on planes, I think going to different stuff, like going to an art gallery, even though it was like fun, bright colors, it wasn't necessarily like a playground for a kid, but it also managed us like walking and having boundaries of like, okay, we can't touch that, sweetie. But it was also in a place where I knew she wasn't going to like get hurt. But it was just different things. It was also beautiful, cool artwork. It wasn't like I took her to something that she wouldn't understand. She actually was like understanding the shadows. But there's certain things you can do in your community, in your city, or drive an hour and go to the farm and let her feed the animal. Like there's so many things you can do. And we also have like a great backyard. We have a pool and trampoline. So it's not like we always have to be running, but you can do things. And I just think it helps them.
It does. And it helps so much. And I love that you say like creating the boundaries of like, you know what, this is, and it's so funny. I was talking to a friend who is not religious, like by any means, but we were talking about preschools, and she was saying that her kid is going to go to a Catholic school. And I was like, oh, that's so funny because like, you're not religious. Your partner's not religious. Like, so bizarre. And she's like, yeah, but you know what? She's like, it's a good school. And she was like, the reason why I don't have a problem, I would say, with like them going into the church for like 30 minutes, like during the day, because it's not about like learning about like Jesus or whatever it may be. It's about them learning. Yes. Being able to sit in a room, be still, be quiet, be young, and learn that sometimes you have to be in a place where you're still and you're quiet and you can't be loud and you can't be running around and you have to have discipline. And I was like, wow, that's something I never would have thought to have that moment. And it's like, yeah, that's why you should bring kids, to places where maybe they need to learn they can't be unruly. You know what I mean? Kids will always be kids, but there are moments where maybe they're going to have a little bit of discipline. And what a great way to teach that. I mean, maybe not a great way, but I don't know. I think it was like pretty cool. I was like, oh, that's interesting,
Yeah, I think that's that's very great. It's actually like, that's a good topic to talk about, like, because Bowie's going to be 3 in January. And so like finding her voice.
Yeah. Has she started preschool yet?
No, we do like music class, swim
Sure.
class, dance class, soccer. We have 4 things a week right now.
You're
We need to take a
like, I'm
break.
exhausted.
By the way, it almost takes more time to get out of the house and get there than it does for the 40 minutes of each of these things. But I don't know. Brad and I just had this conversation because Lexi started early, and I'm like, I don't know. I think I have to wait till 4 or 5. That's when I went. And he's like, it's different now. So I don't know yet. But no, she's not. But the discipline thing, because now that she's like talking a lot and knows what she wants, here's like something interesting. Sharing. I don't know where you guys are at with sharing. It's a hard thing for me because it's like, if we're at home and she can play with her toys and then we go to the splash pad and someone wants to play with it, a lot of people are like, okay, we share, give the toy up. Now, I'm not saying I don't want her to not share. I think sharing is caring, and there's a way to do it. But I think it's very strange for, in my opinion, for parents to all of a sudden just be like, share it with this kid. Like,
with a stranger.
What does that explain to your child? That all of a sudden,
wow, we're not there yet, and I've never even thought about that. That's
it's
so
a
interesting.
very difficult thing, Al, because it's not at all that I want to teach her that she shouldn't share with someone, or especially, but it is a stranger. You've never met this person. Now at the splash pad, and someone wants to come play. So you have to try to find the way of doing it. Well, how about you tell them, we'll take turns right now. You're going to play and do this, but a lot of parents in front of me, and I've probably at one point been like, share it with your cousin. So I'm not sitting here acting like that's perfect. And this is just my opinion. Someone else may say, no, give the toy up. I find it hard because I'm like, this is hers. She's been able to play at home with it all by herself all the time. And now some stranger who we've never met comes up and takes it. And I have to say,
mine.
Yeah. And I have to say, yeah, give it to him. No, that's her toy. But you know what I mean?
Well, here's my question. What if the parent said to you, like, I would be mortified. Like, anytime lady grabs something of someone else's, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, she doesn't have any siblings. Like, she just grabs things because she thinks everything is hers. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to teach her. But like, what if the parent said to you?
Well, sometimes I'm like, well, you know, at one point I'm like, well, boy, that is yours. So let's just tell him very nicely, like, hey, that's mine and we want it back. And she's been good about that. But sometimes I hope it's where the parent comes in and I don't want to discipline someone else's child, but maybe you say, that isn't yours. Let's give it back and ask her if we can use it. Cause it's been different things, whether someone grabs it, and their kids are going to be kids. I just think there's like a fine line in the sharing situation where we have to understand that it has to confuse your kids, that if all of a sudden something they've been able to play by themselves and they're somewhere with a stranger, it's really crazy to be like, yeah, give it up.
Well, I think also, like,
think about if someone took your cell phone out of your hand, a stranger, while you're in the middle of writing an email.
I'd be pissed.
Exactly.
But here's a little
kid who can't express their emotions, and then we're like almost encouraging that to be okay, for that feeling of something being snatched that's theirs.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like
can't feel great. No, it can't feel great.
It's a fine line because and again, it makes it sound like I'm saying she shouldn't share, and that is not what I'm saying.
No. Have you ever had a conversation with like parents that have gotten a little like feisty, or like been like, oh, or you're like, how could you possibly, like, I'm not at the age yet, I feel like, where that happens, but I have such a testy personality, and I feel like if someone's gonna like fuck with my baby, like, I'm gonna be like, oh, listen, God, bitch, I am about to go down right now. Like, you have no idea what I'm gonna do.
Well, listen, this happened in our music class. There were some instruments out, and this little girl slaps Bowie. And I'm like,
no,
oh my God. And I like, first of all, wanted to say something to the little girl. Then I wanted to say something to the mom. Then I was like, I have to, in a real quick, like, second when this is going on, I still have to present Bowie in a way so that she feels safe, but also does the right thing. But it's all like, and my emotions are taking over. I was like pissed. So I'm like, and Bowie put her hand on her hip.
Hold my earrings, bitch. Hold my earrings.
Take my earrings. And Bowie said, you don't slap me, and pointed her finger at her. And I'm like, okay. And put the girl in her place, and it never happened again. The mom came over and said, sorry. I said, listen, that was the first time anything like that has happened. It did catch me off guard, but like, okay. And again, I don't think the girl was trying to be malicious. They're at that age and, you know, maybe she wanted the toy Bowie had. I don't know. But again, these are things where it's like hard because I also don't know. I think the mom should definitely let her know, like, that's not okay. But I don't know that you go and yell at her because I also don't think kids hear yelling. When you get down
I don't think so at all. No.
Talk to them and explain, like, hey, hitting like that is going to hurt someone's feelings and that's not okay. When I hear parents yelling,
it's heartbreaking.
Little kid that I'm like, oh, and now I might not have known what their morning was like. Maybe it was a crazy, you know, but I just feel like yelling feels like you're getting something done, but it doesn't really get you anywhere. It's like worrying. Worrying's like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but doesn't get you anywhere. Like yelling at a kid is like, that was a Ryan Reynolds from Van Wilder. It's one of my other favorite quotes.
What a great quote that just pulls out from Van Wilder.
Worrying's like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but doesn't get you anywhere. And I think yelling with children is, I just don't think they hear it.
But it's true. No, I think it's the same thing. No, and I don't think they hear it. And, you know, it's so interesting. Like here another question that comes up is, you know, ladies at the stage where she's definitely testing to see like how far she can really go. And we laugh. Like she loves Dottie. Like she loves her dog so much, but she just loves to torture Dottie. Like we're convinced that like Pee-wee has like been reincarnated and like Pee-wee did not really love Dottie and was like, why did she come in my life? And I feel like Pee-wee's soul is now inside Lady and he's like, now is my opportunity to like torture this poor dog and like get back. And you know, we and Dottie will growl at her and like we're very afraid like she's gonna snap. Like I don't think she ever will snap, but like I knock on wood because I don't trust anything. I don't trust any human or living creature, like whatever. You never know what's going to happen. You know,
at the end of the day, they're animals.
They're animals, you know, and how would you like someone trying to put your finger in your butt like all day long? Like, no, like you would be like, I'm sorry. Like this is not happening. And so I feel like we constantly are trying to like say no without saying no. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
What is something like, how did you talk to Bowie without being like, no, because I notice so many kids around us, all they say is no. And I'm like, with their first words, because obviously they hear it a lot, right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, like I don't want Lady to always just be hearing no. Like I need her to understand, like, why are we saying no? Yeah. You know, why are we saying you cannot do that? Or like, please don't put your finger up Dottie's butt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is something that you did with Bowie? Yeah. Something that will like, we'll say that makes her Bowie Birdie Bradley. It makes our dog Birdie because she would do that too. And I don't know if it's a thing where they know that the dog isn't going to, or instinctually something as a kid. Because there's things I do and I'm like, I can't, if I was Birdie, I would have snapped. Do you know what I mean? Yes. Like some of this, I'm like, oh my gosh, but she loves Birdie to death. So it's like weird, but I don't know if she can feel like, hey, this dog is just going to protect me and love me. I don't know. It is wild, but it does scare you because at the end of the day, this is a dog. But I would often we say that's going to make Birdie very sad. And if Birdie's very sad, she might cry because you're hurting her feelings. So we try to go that way more than constantly no. And sometimes a hard no just has to be it. Like the other day she threw something in the car while I was driving and I'm like, Bowie, you cannot do that. I could it came flying over my head. The back seat. I can laugh now. Alessandra, first of all, I didn't expect it. It was like one of the toys. There's a possession in the back seat. It was like a hard toy too, not like a softball or like her bunny. It was. I'm like, and it like went and hit the window. It just literally like scared me. Yeah, but of course. My reaction wasn't great because I was like, Bowie, you don't. And it was like a 4-lane busy street. But no, I think the most is just trying to always kind of get to their level. That's going to make them very sad. You know what I mean? Right. That's what has worked with her. Well, I don't want Birdie to be sad. Well, then you really can't do that to Birdie because that's going to hurt her feelings. And we don't want that, I think she's too young to say like, compare. Like, I think when you get older to like Lexi's age, you can say, hey, you wouldn't want someone to treat you that way. So let's not do that, Right. Because Lexi's 7 or 8. Lexi's 8. Yeah. But I think at 2 and 3 that they can't comprehend that. It's more that she doesn't really want to hurt Birdie's feelings. So she kind of
She hears, I think hears that more than just, no, don't do that to
Right.
Birdie. You know what I mean?
Right.
But every kid's also different. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it is all different. No,
yeah.
it is. So how has it been? I feel like something that is not talked about a lot is how, every parent, I feel like, is so different in the way that they raise their kid and like all this stuff. And like, I think I've been quite like vocal about it of like how frustrating it is sometimes for me because I feel like I'm so loose when it comes to Lady in the sense where I'm just like, whatever, like, "Oh, you
Yeah.
want to go to Disneyland today? Like, let's go to Disneyland. Oh, you want to go like,
I love that.
I'm like, we're so loose about things, right? It's like there's no schedule, there's nothing, probably to a fault, right? It's probably she's gonna like, in 15 years be like, oh my God, my mom like did not even think twice about like me needing a nap and was like, she'll be fine, like, just give her some candy or
Does
something.
she
I don't know. She does nap. She naps in the car. She loves to nap in the car.
Okay.
Like she's very relaxed. And she does. She takes 2 naps a day. She loves it, but it has to be either in the car or a stroller, or in my arms. Like she's someone that needs that I like to say like that pressure almost of she doesn't sleep in her crib. She doesn't nap in her crib. Like none of that.
She
like,
sleep with you at night?
every night. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Bowie comes in at anywhere now from 3:30 a.m. to 6. And then she sleeps till like 8:30 or 9.
Yeah.
But she just started doing this probably about 3 months ago. Otherwise, she was sleeping in her crib until then. And I don't mind it. Like, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, should I go wake her up now? And Brad's like, we'll get her when she gets up. But she comes in every night. And I love it. I love it when she, because here's the thing. You're never going to, later on, you're never going to regret that she laid with you.
No, I'm never going to be like, oh my God, she was cramping my style.
Go back and make her sleep in her crib. Not saying a crib's bad, but I'm meaning if that works for you, you're never going to be upset that you allowed that or that she's in that. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not. But I feel like it is hard because I say that out loud to people and especially when it was first happening, she used to sleep in the bassinet next to us. And then I would say we went to New York when she was like 5 months old maybe. And like, she was like, oh, this is funny. Like I've tasted the bed. Like it's never going back any other way. You know what I mean? And then she wouldn't go back in the bassinet under the crib. So it's like, whatever. It was kind of my fault, but I'm okay with it. But it's so funny because I would always tiptoe around like being like, people would be like, oh, do you, sleep share, whatever it's called. And I'd be like, I guess like she sleeps with us. Yeah. And people would be super judgy about it and be like, oh my God, like, how do you have like a sex life? Like, how do you have a life? And it like got very uncomfortable for me. And I also like, it's no one's business but my own, how I raise my baby. Like, so I guess, since you are pretty much very similar to me in the sense where you are very loose with Bowie and you do bring her everywhere, like how do you deal with maybe like new moms that you don't know? I'm not talking about your friends. I'm talking about people that you maybe meet like at a mom class or at soccer or stuff like that, or dads. Like how do you deal with like navigating because I always act like I'm like, oh, I'm so kooky. Like I have a kooky life, but I'm like, I'm not kooky. Like I'm pretty with it. but I put on this like pretend hat, I'm an actor.
Right. It's hard because I think as a mom, everything that you're like the new things that come, whether it's like whatever the new challenges. And then when they're finding their voice, some kids are more calm, some are more vocal, some, want to explore more. Some are fearless, like Bowie will go jump in the pool. Some other won't. So the way I parent and handle things are going to be different than you. So, but what's hard is I think because we're always wanting to be the best parent that we can be and try, just being the best that we can be in any situation with our kids and still make a family life good and your marriage or your relationship. I think when you feel a little judgment or a little, that's like it hits a certain nerve because you're like, you're already trying to do the best you can. So to have someone kind of like not agree or like be a little judgy, I'm like, it's not cool. It like doesn't feel good because also no one understands anyone else's household. Do you know what I mean? Like how we put Boy to bed at night is very different how someone else does, but it's also because of the way your kids are. Like you and Lady may sleep way better together than if she was in her crib. You might be a
100%.
mom who like wouldn't sleep great if she was in her crib.
Yeah.
So why she should be able to sleep with you and no one should judge that. Let that be what it is. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, I don't like
it's tough.
Bowie
And
for the first 3 months slept with us. And Brad was like, come home from practice. And he's like, no one's ever heard of this because she would sleep on my chest. But it was the best way she would sleep. When I put her in the bassinet next to me, I couldn't sleep because I was so worried about her breathing or so worried about her choking or so,
right.
Which no one also tells you that. Everyone's just like, oh, did you sleep train? I'm like, well, I'm worried that she's like going to choke at night. So
no, literally like my full blown panic of like, I don't trust a baby monitor. The baby monitor is going to go out. Then what's going to happen in the middle of the night? Then I'm not going to hear her.
She can come say hi.
Come say hi, Bowie. That's another topic. Like, how do you balance life as a mom, like trying to work? Like,
if you would have just seen Brad run in here so fast, and I'm like, listen, it's Al. Like, it's cool if it's Bowie, but like, if I'm in the middle of a director session trying to get emotional or trying to do something, and then my daughter runs in, I mean, it's going to be hard to like get back there. So sometimes I'm like, Brad, today's fine because it's Al and she knows Bowie and knows us. But like, if I need like a 10-minute audition scene, like, you need to be fast, like you were on skates, and
has that happened before too?
One time. I mean, at the end of the day, my life is my kids, so like, it'll always be okay. But you know how that is if you're in the middle of a scene, like, you know, when you would like do a self tape and then your cell phone goes off and you're like so mad because you're like,
so
why
angry.
did I put on airplane mode?
Yes.
Everything.
No. So how do you balance, I would say, like not being like, you know, just like a mom and like you're being, you know, this new persona, but like, how have people perceived you? Because like, obviously everyone knows you from Gossip Girl. Then you had like a different life being like doing all kinds of movies and TV and stuff. But then you had the Orville, and then that became like the next like version of you in the sense where you were an alien for a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And now everything is mom. You know, how do you find that people who, whether you're fans, whether it be people that you work with, like your agents and managers or producers, like how do you think people have perceived you to be different now that you're a mom? Do you find yourself being seen in a totally different way than you were before?
Yeah. I also think it's just like internally and everything for me, like everything changes. Like you just, the lens of life is different because of being a mom. Like things you want to do, what you want your kid to learn or understand or see. Your relationship changes in a way. Like you almost fall more in love, but then it also tests your relationship in so many ways too. So I don't really know how everyone else is perceiving me. I just think it's like, personally for me, if everything feels different, because it is. Even in the fact of like, there's certain jobs, I'm like, okay, like how long is that one gonna go? Where does that one shoot? Where before I had her, I'm like, it would have more been who am I working with and what director is it, and you know, who's the cast, not like the questions of like, well, before I even asked that, like, where's it shooting? And not that I wouldn't go, but like now with Lexi in school and stuff like that, there is going to be certain boundaries, but or certain decisions that I have to make. But I don't know. I also just think because of how different the Orville was from Gossip Girl, Shameless was kind of in between, like where it was like,
I remember
not Gossip Girl, but like not an alien. I also think my fan base kind of shifted too, because people who are watching Gossip Girl were not watching the Orville. You know what I mean?
Right. Did you yourself ever find having, like, this is something that I've been going through, and I find myself like having such a severe identity crisis where I like wake up in a panic every day where I'm like, I know that I'm meant to be a mom and like this is like my most important job, and I'm so almost blessed and lucky that I can't work right now because it's forcing me to be with her. But then at the same time, I'm like, oh shit, like when things do go back to normal and I don't have a manager anymore and I have this new agent, and, you know, do they really know who I am? Do they know that now that I'm a mom, are people perceiving me in an older fashion? Like, am I not going to be an actress anymore? Like, am I going to do something else?
Meant to be an actress for sure.
You know what I mean? Like that's been like going through the head of, you know, and I also like to say it's probably still because I'm breastfeeding and like I'm still like balancing out my hormones and my emotions and stuff. But did you ever have that moment where you had like kind of this identity crisis where I know women, not just in the business, I mean, all women have this of like, who am I, after having a baby.
I also think we've had an interesting like couple of years because it was the pandemic. So our whole world in general, but then specifically for what we do, took forever to get back. And then even if you were working on something, the way the testing and auditions were, which I think the in-person auditions affects a lot of people in a way, because I just think an energy in a room is very different than these tapes. So I think
we're great in a room. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly feel like that is a big part of our whole thing. So you put that into the dynamic, and then you put in now that there was a writer strike, and then there's the SAG strike. We've been in a real funky like place with all of it. And not to mention, as all of those things are happening, then we both had children, plus the industry is not what it was when we first became actors. It's a completely different thing. Any way you cut it, that from movies to TV to movies, movie stars being TV stars being movie stars. I mean, the streaming. So it's like all of that was already going to be kind of a, oh my gosh, like what kind of film or movie do I want to do next? What am I doing? Then throwing being a mom in it, plus all of that, I think we're in a very interesting, kind of frustrating, but also blessed to be able to be actors. Right. In a way too, even though there's a lot of stuff going on. But I think in general, it's just a really difficult thing. So for sure I've woken up, or for sure there's days I'm like, I need to be on a set again. Like Bowie will be coming with me, but I need to hear action, and I need to get into a character, and I need to do this. So that's for sure happened. I mean, there's times I've cried about it. There's times I've really taken in that it is what it is, and also blessed. Like it was like the last writer strike. I remember when we were shooting Gossip Girl, it was like a paid vacation in a way, not paid, but like, because we knew we were going back to a show.
Sure.
Right now, everyone's like, if you go back to something that you were shooting, or if you do something, we just don't know what the industry is because of what everyone's fighting for with the strikes as well. Right. So it's like, is it
right? So it's
all be harder for stuff to get made? Is it going to be easier to get cast? Is it going to be more shows, less shows?
Well, I feel like it's such an unknown, and I feel like I went to this event yesterday, and it was like one of the first events I've been to without Lady, because once again, I bring her to every event that I go to. Yeah. I'm like, and now I have to ask if it's an 18 or older event, because usually I just assume I bring her along. I'm like, what do you mean? Like we match. Like, what do you mean? It's cute. Her IMDb and Wire image is way higher than mine is. It's pretty cute. I went to this event, and this girl was so sweet. She was phenomenal and so gorgeous and sweet. And she was telling me that she was an influencer, and she was like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm certainly not an influencer, you know what I mean? By any means. Like,
you influence me.
Well, I influence. Thank you. I will take that. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, and I'm like, wow, it's so wild, because even I feel like 5 years ago, if we would have gone to an event, right, and we would have been there, it would have been actors, musicians, producers, maybe there was like one or two bloggers, but really they were like bloggers who also were actors, and now it's like, it's such a different world that I feel like such a fish out of water at a Los Angeles wellness event, because I'm not, I don't have a blog. I don't have a famous TikTok. It's just so wild. And it's like, wow, what are our kids being raised in? It's like a different generation. It's insane to me. Like to think about what's going on.
When we would go to like Chi on like a Monday night back in the day, but think about this. We couldn't even, you had to not bring your cameras in. We didn't even have cameras on the phones then.
Well, so let's not remember what happened to the camera in Monte Carlo. Like, speaking of cameras, should I remind you when we had, God knows where that digital camera is. Like, first time I met Jessica, we had a digital camera. We were taking all these wild, fun pictures, nothing inappropriate, but every celebrity was on that camera. And we went to a party with the Prince of Monte Carlo and lost the camera. And then there was a picture that came out of me dirty dancing with Kevin McHale, who's gay. Okay. And at the time, was with Jenna Ushkowitz. Okay. So nothing fishy there. And we were dancing to Britney Spears, and they're like, ooh, spotted, Alessandra Torsani. I'm like, honey, listen, it was a good moment, but it was not what you think.
And they turned it into whatever they wanted it to be.
I was like, first of all, no one knew who I was. So it wasn't even that scandalous. Because Caprica didn't come out yet. Literally, I had done a few guest spots here and there, and 20 pilots that never got picked up.
That you with that Apple picture everywhere in New York City, all over the world.
I'm still holding on to that moment.
Yes, loved that.
I love that moment. But it's so, but it is interesting, and it's like scary. I feel like learning, like, oh my God, do you want your kid to be on screen time? Like, do you like care if they're, watching this? Like, the other question is like, do you care if there's pictures of your baby out? I mean, I know that you share people with your audience and your fan base.
That was I went back and forth with that for a while.
I still go back and forth, but
and then it was kind of to me where I'm like, cameras are just everywhere now. So it's like, even if, and now I know I put some out of Bowie more than if we were just walking somewhere, but it's if you're going to hide your kids, then it's like a whole thing all the time. And then I'm like, does she deserve that? That anywhere we go where there's cameras out, we have to be careful. Or if someone does get her in the background, hey, can you delete that? Because cameras are anywhere we go. And then if you're definitely going to kids things, people are taking pictures of their kids. So there's a fine line of like, if you're going to do it and want to protect your kids, like, is it every which way you go? So it's like everything we do have to be guarded and sheltered and worried and all of that, or the other way. So I feel like there's a balance in it, but then someone else would be like, well, there's not a balance. Like either you're showing your kid or you're not. Like if you put, which I do show Boy. And a part of it is like, she's my world and my life. And we were okay with it. In the beginning, when I was just a new mom and just trying to breastfeed and be there and I wasn't on set and stuff, I wasn't really worried about it. I just was like, I'll decide later.
Yeah.
And then when I decided it, I remember there was a night where I'm like, and Brad's like, if you're overthinking it, then maybe just don't do it. And I'm like, but you're going to overthink things with your kids, like what class you put them in, or where you're traveling, or what job you're going to take, or who you're going to let be around your kid. So I am going to overthink shit. This is my kid. Everything we do from here on out affects her in many ways. And then I just I think I might have went on to a few of our friends' pages and kind of felt out like the people that I parent similar with, or that I respect. And you know what I mean? Not saying that I don't respect others in that way. I just was kind of like, let me see this couple who I've known for a long time, who kids are let me see how they did. Some didn't at all show them, and a few did. And I think at the end of the day, I was just kind of like, I'm always going to protect her and be here for her. But to not have any picture ever of her out in the world is just like, in this day and age, is just not going to happen.
Yeah. And I feel like, honestly, we're very similar in the sense where we're very open, and we're open with our audience. And that's kind of why people are, close with us.
Want to hear what we got to say. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I talk so much on my podcast about her, because that's my whole life. And like, just like you talk about her all the time, like that's your life. And I feel like it's just a part of me. And I mean, there's some kids in my music class that have parents that are in the business that are like, oh my gosh, can you please not take video? And so like, we respect, like everyone in our music class knows, don't take video. Like, or if you do, it's only for yourself. Like, don't take it of anyone else. It's just your kid. So I think it's a balance. But I think for me,
totally.
I'm like, well,
and that's fair. People don't want it, but that's what I'm saying. Then it's like every little thing you're going to,
and too much overthink for me.
Yeah. And if that is something that you specifically are really like, hey, that's something I don't want my kids' picture out there, then to each their own, then don't do it. I just feel like nowadays it's just, even if there isn't a camera out, there's cameras everywhere. So if someone wants to get something off there,
Yeah. Well,
that's a really tough one. That's a tough one.
I mean, the real question is like, is Bowie ready to be an actor? Because she is so cute.
This girl is too funny. I mean, I don't know. An agent did reach out to us. Two did actually, asking if we would want her to get signed with them.
Why not?
And I was like, listen, I don't know. I'm not against it, but I'm like, maybe just let's wait till she's like old enough to kind of decide. I don't know. But like, maybe when she's like 4 or 5, like, do you want to
know what?
Silly and funny?
I told Lady, like, as if she even talks back to me, but I told Lady, like, there was an agent that approached, and I was like, sure, like, why not? Oh, she'll do print modeling. Like, no one even knows it's her. And this is a funny story and I'll leave it at this. Okay. She books this job. I'll start with this. She books this job, and I was like, oh my God, they had me like put on a picture of her and whatever, sent it on. And I was like, oh my gosh, if she gets this is going to be like so fun, like whatever. And she booked it. They were like, show up to this sound studio where it was a Christmas shoot. Okay. And I was like, oh my God, this is a dream. And it was like in September. I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So she shows up. Now, This was for Disney. Okay. So this is for the Disney Christmas campaign. And I was like, my daughter opened it. It was her first job. Like, okay, I'm like, this is the Christmas card. Like, it's happening. Like, this is so exciting. Anyway, so I was like, okay, this is really fun. So we show up and I'm like freaking out. I found myself being the stage mother that I like despised growing up and seeing all around, and I became her. And I was like, I need to calm myself right now. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, is this her first job? Like, oh my gosh, welcome to the entertainment industry. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like so awkward. You guys don't know who I am. Like, this is so bizarre for me. like I was like having this whole like moment, and she's like running around playing with Mickey Mouse toys. So anyway, so they're like, okay, we're going to put her in these pajamas. They put her in these pajamas. They're Christmas. They're adorable. They're plaid. And everyone knows like she doesn't have a lot of hair going on, so that's okay. This little girl comes in, the same age as Lady, with long, gorgeous blonde hair and a big bow. And I was like, oh my gosh, how cute. Like, I wonder if they'll like do something together. Naive me, okay, has no idea what's happening. They go, okay, you know what? Actually, we're not going to have Lady in this. We're going to have the other baby wear this. I was like, oh, she's been cut. My daughter's been cut from the campaign before she even shot it. It's over. Like, this is it. This is how it ends. Her career began and ended in 1 second, Anyways, they shoot this little girl. She's so cute. And then they go, actually, we're going to put Lady in something. So they put Lady in this yellow Mickey Mouse sweatshirt with jeans and big black fuzzy like army boots. And they put her in hair and makeup. And I was like, oh my God, so cute. And they start giving her a comb over. Okay.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh my God, like that's kind of bizarre. Like, she's so cute. Like, why are you giving her a comb over? Then we go on the set and they're like, okay, like we're going to play her favorite like music. So she's playing, cute little like Disney Nightmare Before Christmas. And they had like a baby wrangler that's like, over here, Lady, whatever. And the photographer did not hear her name. And I overheard the photographer go, wow, he is just such a handsome little boy. And I go, what? And I go, well, his name is Lady, and they're like, oh no, that's a girl. They whispered to him, and he goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Are you the mom? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I thought it was a little boy. I was like, whatever gets the job, I guess. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, who am I to be like, whatever gets the job? Like, I said it out loud, and I was like, they looked at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, no, trust me. Like, I've been in this business forever. Like, I'm an actress.
You didn't mean that.
I didn't mean that. And I'm like going through my IMDb, and they're like, we do not give a shit who you are, ma'am. Like, get your child out of here. Like, they are done. And I was like, well, that's Lady's first job. So then they announced the Christmas campaign, and it comes out like October 1st. And her sweatshirt's not on there. She's not on there. I'm like, she's been cut. And after that, I was like, you know what? For Lady's sake, I think it's best she's not in the business, because she has the crazy stage mother inside me that's been dying to come out. So it's not that my daughter couldn't handle it because she had the time of her life on set. It's that I was like, oh my God, I know how to make her smile. I know how to do this. Like, don't you know who we are? Like, crazy person. So that's my 2 cents of advice. On that note, I think that I will wrap this up. We are going to have to do this again, because this is
we'll do a part 2. But it's adorable and beautiful and like funny. Like, our industry's wild though. It's crazy.
It's wild. It's crazy. And you know what? Like, we just have to laugh about it. And the best thing about this industry is that I have made some of the coolest friends in the entire world, you being included in that. And how special. Like, if we didn't meet in that one time in Monte Carlo, you know what I mean?
True.
Like, who knows if we would be here right now having this conversation, and who knows if I would have raised Lady the way that I did, because truly you were such an impact of that. Like,
oh my God, that is like the nicest compliment. And I think you're really killing it. I also don't think not just you and I in general, because we're so busy and your day to day. And when you get done doing certain things, or you're with your, child, you're not trying to like be on the phone. Like, some people are like Nina the other day was like, you are the worst. She's like, it took you 3 weeks to call me back. I'm like, I'm bad with it, because I just like try to be as present. That's a big thing. Trying to be as present with your kids as you can, because it goes fast.
It goes fast. And you know what? And if people can't understand that and they can't forgive you for that, then, they're not meant to be for you.
Laughed it off. She was just
I know she did. She's the best. But Yeah, but some people like
bad.
don't get it. You know what I mean? Some people don't understand it. And you really find the people that also reach out to you during the postpartum, people that have like texted you or write you and are like, "How are you
Yeah.
doing,
How
mom?"
you doing?
So
Yeah.
make sure you like hold tight those people that showed up for you
Yeah.
because it means a lot, in the long term.
And when you do have a minute or you are on the phone with someone or in a moment like this, like let your friends know they're doing a good job because I think a lot of I think our
Yes.
partners, I think people in general in the world just expect us to do it because we do it and we do a damn good job of it, but we
Yes.
aren't told that a lot. And not that I need a pat on the back, but like the other
No,
day,
you
Brad
do.
brought home flowers out of nowhere, and he's like, "I just wanted to say thanks." I'm like, "Honestly, Brad, what did you do?" And he's like, "I told the lady at the grocery store I'm
Really?
just doing it to be nice." And I was like, "Oh my god, that is the
Yeah.
sweetest thing." It really like made my whole week. I
Yeah.
love flowers, but like the recognition of just like, I see you.
I see you and I hear you and you're here and you're
Yeah.
doing great, mom. And like round of applause.